Today the scripture, there's two scriptures. There's always a couple of scriptures that come with the lectionary. So this week I'll just kind of give you, we're not going to read it. I'll just give you a little bit of what we're not reading is a passage from Genesis, which is about Sarah and Abraham receiving their call. And so that is really kind of the foundational moment of three great religions, which will, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and those two people there. And then we also have the bookend of this scripture, which is Jesus, who calling Matthew to be a disciple, and then doing some healing work. So it's, quintessential Jesus stuff, disciples and healing. Great, 2 checks on the boxes. But we may be familiar with some of these scriptures, but whether we are or are not, may we find a way to hear them today in a way that speaks to our hearts wherever we are right this very moment. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting in the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and he followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" So this is instance number 1 in the scripture where Jesus is talking to somebody who is outside of the societal norm, and it is a trend in this passage. But when Jesus heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." While he was saying these things to them, suddenly a leader of the synagogue came in and knelt before him, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live." Here we have the second instance of somebody who's at the edge of society. We don't necessarily think of that from our perspective, but in the writing of this passage in the Near Ancient East, the next person on the list, so we've got tax collector, edge of society. Then we've got child, not just child, girl child, the least of the least. So we're being asked to, if you will come, lay a hand on her and she will live. And Jesus got up and followed him with his disciples. Then, suddenly, a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages. Okay, there it is, the third one. We have a woman in society who is bleeding, would be seen to be unclean, would not be allowed to be a participant in active society. So she has had hemorrhages for 12 years, came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be made well." Jesus turned, and seeing her, he said, "Take heart, daughter. Your faith has made you well." And instantly the woman was made well. When Jesus came to the leader's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making commotion, he said, "Go away, for the girl is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took her by her hand, and the girl got up. And the report of this spread through that district.